What is this? Lemonade on this street? Ha! Barked the man in the tailored navy blue suit, scoffing as he adjusted the gold cufflinks on his sleeves. The sun glared down on the pristine neighborhood of Sycamore Hills, where Bentleys glided past like whispers and sidewalks shimmered from being freshly washed that morning. This is a luxury district, kid. Nobody here wants your sugar water. 12-year-old Malik Carter didn't flinch. His dark eyes stared straight into the man's, unwavering. He stood behind a wooden lemonade stand, painted yellow with chipping corners, and a hand-drawn sign that read, Malik's Fresh Lemonade, $1 a cup. His hands were sticky with sugar, and a slight sweat ran down his brow. But he kept his back straight. I squeeze it myself, Malik said. Fresh lemons, no concentrate. The man burst into laughter, a sharp, piercing sound that turned the heads of two yoga moms jogging nearby. You squeeze it yourself. Are you trying to impress me or poison me? Look, I don't know where you came from, but this block isn't for lemonade hustlers. It's for real businesses. Malik's jaw tightened. A business is a business. Oh, please, the man said, rolling his eyes. I built 3 tech companies, sold 2, and IPO'd 1. You're not a businessman. You're a kid playing house. I'm Richard Kingsley. You should Google me sometime. This street has standards. Richard laughed again, louder this time, as he pulled his phone from his pocket and mockingly snapped a photo of Malik's stand. Here, a little memory for your scrapbook. The day you met success. Now pack it up, champ. You're embarrassing yourself. He turned and strolled off, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the pavement. Malik stood silent for a second, his heart pounding. Thank you for stopping by, Mr. Kingsley, he called out. Richard didn't respond. He just waved a dismissive hand and slid into his silver Mercedes. That night, Malik sat at the kitchen table, flipping through his composition notebook. Mom, he said softly, what's IPO? His mother, Tanya Carter, leaned against the counter, a tired smile on her face. She worked double shifts as a nurse, and her scrubs were still creased from a 12-hour day. It means a company starts selling its stock to the public, she said, setting a plate of macaroni in front of him. Why? There was this man today, Malik muttered, said I wasn't a real businessman. Tanya sat beside him, wiping her hands on a towel. You're selling a product, right? He nodded. Managing your own stand. He nodded again. Then you're a real businessman, she said. Don't let some suit tell you otherwise. Malik looked down at his notebook. Inside were scribbled flavor ideas, diagrams for a better stand, and notes on how to mix honey with lemon for a natural sweetener. He turned the page and drew a new title in bold. Malik's Lemonade Empire Plan. The next morning, he woke before sunrise. He painted his stand fresh yellow, added wheels to make it mobile, and printed labels for his cups. 100% fresh, 100% Malik. As the weeks rolled on, Malik's stand became more than just a sidewalk setup. People began to notice. A local food blogger posted a picture with the caption, "This kid's lemonade is better than most restaurants." Orders picked up. Malik started delivering to houses. He bought a used cooler from a thrift store to keep his batches cold, and then came the moment that changed everything. Mrs. Penelope Morales, a retired marketing exec who lived 2 blocks over, stopped by for her usual honey lemon ginger blend. She said as she sipped, you ever think about pitching this? Like on Shark Tank? Malik froze. I'm 12. And he looked away, thoughtful. The idea planted itself like a seed. That night, Malik stayed up researching. He watched episode after episode of Shark Tank, scribbling notes furiously. He studied terms like valuation, equity, profit margin. He memorized pitch formats. And then he filled out the online application just for fun. He never expected to hear back, but he did. 3 months later, Malik and his mother were flown to Los Angeles. The producers loved his story. Young entrepreneur, family business, passion. product with potential. You're gold. Malik. Tanya was nervous. What if they eat you alive in there? They won't, Malik said, tightening his bow tie. They'll taste the lemonade. Backstage at the studio, Malik waited behind a curtain, hands trembling as the theme music blared. Then the producer gave the signal. The doors swung open. Malik rolled his bright yellow stand into the room. Mark Cuban raised an eyebrow. Whoa, now this is new. Barbara Corcoran leaned forward. Is this a lemonade stand? Malik stood tall. Good afternoon, sharks. My name is Malik Carter. I'm 12 years old, and I'm the CEO and founder of Malik's Fresh Lemonade. The panel chuckled, but not in a mean way, just surprised. I'm here today asking for $50.0 in exchange for 10% of my company. Tell us more. Kevin O'Leary said, folding his hands. Malik took a deep breath. I started selling lemonade to help my mom pay bills. I use all natural ingredients, fresh lemons, filtered water, and sweeteners like honey and agave. I have 6 flavors. I make everything myself. Label each cup and deliver in a 3-mile radius. Last summer, I made $7.50 so. The sharks all straightened. Wait, $7.50 so, Lori said. At $1 a cup, Damon asked. I raised the price to $2.50 last month. Malik added quickly, because I upgraded to eco-friendly cups and added health-boosting ingredients. People didn't mind. Barbara's mouth opened. That's incredible. Malik pulled a cooler from beneath the stand. And now, I'd like you to try some. Each shark received a sample. The room went quiet as they sipped. Wow, said Mark Cuban. That's amazing. Lori nodded. I'd buy this at Whole Foods. Kevin O'Leary licked his lips. All right, let's talk numbers. As the discussion heated up, Malik answered every question with poise beyond his years. He broke down cost of goods, profit margins, customer retention. Tanya watched from backstage, hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. Then came the offers. I'll give you the $50.0 so, said Barbara, but I want 20%, and I'll help you get into health stores. I'll do $50.0 for 15%, Damon offered. I have distribution channels. Kevin tried to jump in, but Malik raised a hand. I'd like to counter. The room quieted. I appreciate all the offers, but I'm still learning. And I want a shark who'll teach me, not just sell me. Mr. Cuban, you work with a lot of young entrepreneurs. Would you do $60.0 for 15%? Mark smiled. Kid, you've got guts. You've got brains. You've got lemonade. He looked around. Deal. They shook hands. The room erupted in applause. Malik beamed. And, watching at home, on a massive 80-inch screen in his modern penthouse, Richard Kingsley dropped his wine glass. No, he whispered. He leaned forward, staring at the boy on the screen. That's the kid from the sidewalk. He fumbled for the remote, rewound the DVR, and replayed the scene. Malik's confident voice rang out again. I'm the CEO and founder of Malik's Fresh Lemonade. Richard's mouth hung open. He rubbed his temples. The glass on the floor remained shattered. The next morning, Richard Kingsley sat inside his silver Mercedes outside Malik's house, wearing a sheepish expression. He clutched a designer gift bag with a custom business card holder and a handwritten note. Malik answered the door. Mr. Kingsley, he said, tilting his head. Didn't think I'd see you again. Richard cleared his throat. I saw you on TV. That was impressive. I came to apologize. Malik folded his arms. For what part? Mocking me, laughing at my stand, telling me to pack it up. Richard looked down. All of it. I was wrong. I misjudged you. I let my ego blind me. You're a real businessman, Malik. Maybe better than I was at your age. There was a long pause. Thanks, Malik said finally. Richard held out the bag. Just a small gift. Congratulations. Malik took it but didn't open it. I don't need your gifts. Richard swallowed. Right, of course. Malik stepped out onto the porch. But I could use advice. You said you, IPOD, a company, right? Richard's eyes lit up. Yes, 3 years ago. Malik nodded. I want to learn how to scale, how to protect my brand, how to hire without losing quality. Richard grinned slowly. I can help with that. Malik extended a hand. Business to business. Richard shook it. Business to business. From sidewalk ridicule to Shark Tank triumph, Malik Carter's lemonade wasn't just a drink anymore. It was a movement. And the kid with the yellow stand, he became the youngest entrepreneur in the show's history to sign a distribution deal. He never forgot the day Richard Kingsley laughed at him. But he also never forgot the day Richard came back with humility. Because Malik wasn't just building a company, he was building legacy. Richard Kingsley sat on the edge of Malik's porch chair like a schoolboy called into the principal's office. The bright morning sun bounced off the shiny trim of his silver Mercedes parked by the curb. Malik stood with his arms crossed, still in his signature yellow T-shirt with the Malik's Fresh Lemonade logo stitched onto the chest. His gaze was sharp, not with anger, but something deeper expectation. So, Malik said, tapping his notebook with a pencil, you said you could help. What's the first thing I need to know about scaling? Richard cleared his throat, adjusting his collar. Well, first, congrats again. You've got the hardest part figured out, product market fit. People want what you're selling. Now it's about systems, operations, supply chain. You can't keep squeezing lemons yourself if you want to sell 1 million cups. Malik nodded, scribbling. You need production partners. Maybe a co-packer who can handle your recipe in a food-safe facility. But not just anyone. You protect your brand and your formula. Like Coca-Cola protects its recipe, Malik asked. Richard blinked. Exactly. Where'd you learn that? Business. Insider, Malik replied with a slight smirk. Watched a video on trade secrets last night. Richard chuckled despite himself. You're something else, kid. Malik flipped a page. Second thing, marketing, Richard said, leaning forward. You've got a great story. You're young, driven, authentic. People love that. But you need to control the narrative. A brand is more than a logo. It's trust. If you can scale and stay authentic, you win. Malik looked up. Want to mentor me? Richard blinked. Are you serious? I'm serious about building an empire, Malik said. I don't forget. You laughed at me, but you came back. That means something. I think I can learn from you, but I lead. Richard nodded slowly. Deal. You lead. I guide. Malik extended his hand. They shook again firmly this time. 3 months later, the first batch of Malik's Fresh Lemonade bottles rolled off the line from a small batch. Organic certified beverage facility just outside Atlanta. They were clean, minimalist bottles with bright yellow caps. Malik's smiling face printed on the back with the quote, fresh, honest, mine. Within weeks, orders came flooding in. Whole Foods signed a regional deal. A TikTok influencer posted a blind taste test that went viral. CNN aired a Sunday segment titled, From Sidewalk Stand to Supermarket Shelves, the Malik Carter Story. The attention was overwhelming. But Malik stayed grounded. He still attended school, still did homework. Tanya hired a small team to manage his schedule, and Richard helped negotiate with potential investors. One evening, Malik and Tanya sat in the kitchen, again this time, with better lighting, a new fridge, and soft jazz playing in the background. You tired? She asked, sipping from a wine glass. Not yet, Malik said. Still got pitch prep for the retail conference next week, Tanya smiled. You know, your Nana used to sell sweet tea on her porch in Mississippi. You've got her spirit. Malik looked at her. I know. I'm gonna put her on a bottle. 2 days later, Malik stood on the stage of the Southeastern Retailer Expo. Thousands of buyers, brand execs, and media people stared up at the screen behind him. My name is Malik Carter, he said into the mic. I started with a table and some lemons. Now I have a team, a vision, and the best tasting lemonade in the country. I'm not here to impress you with numbers. I'm here to show you what happens when a kid with no excuses chases a dream. Applause erupted. In the front row, Richard Kingsley stood beside Tanya, hands clapping fiercely. A proud grin stretched across his face. Later that night, as Malik left the expo, a group of boys stood near the exit. One of them, about 10 years old, clutched a crumpled paper and a small backpack. "Hey, Malik," the boy said shyly. Malik turned. "Yeah, my name's Jameer. The first started selling snow cones in my driveway. I saw you on Shark Tank. You think maybe I could do what you did?" Malik knelt down, took Jameer's paper, and read the hand-drawn logo, Jameer's Snow Magic. "You already are," Malik said. "Just keep going." He pulled a Sharpie from his pocket, signed the boy's sketch, and added, "Don't let them laugh you out of your dream, M." And as the cameras flashed, and the world watched, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just lemonade anymore. This was a revolution. A week later, Malik was sitting inside the bustling lobby of a tech accelerator in downtown Atlanta. The glass-walled skyscraper towered above the city, filled with startups dreaming of their first million, their first acquisition, their first IPO. But Malik, dressed in a crisp button-down shirt and his now signature lemon yellow sneakers, wasn't dreaming anymore. He was executing. Across from him sat Angela Wu, a venture capitalist known for backing breakout beverage brands. She swirled her cold-pressed green juice as she studied Malik's deck, flipping through slides of projected revenue, production models, and market growth. "This," she said finally, "is tight, too tight. Did you really put this together yourself?" "Me and my mentor," Malik replied. "He IPO'd a company. I've got him helping me understand what smart money looks like." Angela smirked. "You mean Richard Kingsley?" Malik didn't answer directly. He didn't have to. Angela leaned back. "He laughed at you once, didn't he?" "Yeah," Malik said coolly. "Then he shook my hand." Angela paused. "That's business. We all start somewhere. What do you want from me?" "I want $250.0, so," Malik said. "For 5% equity. I'll use the funds to expand production into 2 more co-packing facilities. One on the West Coast, one in the Midwest. That cuts shipping costs. I've already got interest from Target and Kroger. I need to meet demand." Angela smiled. "And what do I get?" "You get to say you helped build the biggest black-owned beverage brand in the country, led by a 13-year-old. Angela raised an eyebrow. "You're 13 now. Birthday was last week." He replied. "Didn't throw a party. Had a pitch." Angela laughed softly. "You're ice cold." "I like that." She extended her hand. "I'm in." And just like that, the second major deal of Malik's career was sealed. Back home, Tanya stared at the check. Angela's firm wired the next morning. Her hands trembled as she held it. "Malik," she whispered, "this is more money than I've ever seen." "I know," he said softly. "But it's not just money, it's momentum." That same day, Malik's inbox exploded. Interviews, podcast invites, licensing requests. Requests from schools to speak to other kids. But one email caught his attention immediately. Subject: feature opportunity. Forbes 30 under 30. The message was brief. "We're putting together a special feature on under 18 innovators. We want Malik. Cover story. Photo shoot next week." Malik read it 3 times before he even told his mom. And when the issue dropped, there he was on the cover of Forbes, holding a bottle of his lemonade, standing in front of his new production facility, with the headline, "Sweet Genius: How Malik Carter is Reinventing the Beverage Game." The world couldn't stop talking. The View called. Ellen's producers left 4 voicemails. Jay-Z's Rock Nation sent a partnership inquiry. Even Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson posted about Malik on Instagram. This: "Young King is doing it right. Authentic. Relentless, unstoppable. Support his brand." Malik's lemonade, but not all attention was praise. Some trolls online called him a media stunt. Others accused his mom of exploiting him. One article tried to dig up dirt on Richard Kingsley, claiming his mentorship was a PR move. Malik didn't respond to any of it publicly, but in private, he doubled down. He started working with a PR strategist to protect his image, hired a lawyer to manage trademarks, launched a nonprofit initiative, Lemon Leaders, a program that gave seed funding and business mentoring to underprivileged kids with street hustles. And every Saturday, without fail, he still rolled out his original lemonade stand in the same spot, on the same sidewalk where it all began. One particular Saturday, an older man walked up, worn jacket, cracked sunglasses. He looked uncertain, like he wasn't sure if he'd come to the right place. "You Malik?" he asked. "Yeah," Malik replied, glancing up from his tablet. I used to live on this street. Long time ago, I saw the news about you. Just wanted to say, you make me proud, son." Malik's eyes softened. "Thank you, sir. Want a cup?" The man nodded, eyes misting. "Yeah, I'd like that." Malik poured it himself. Later that night, Malik sat with Richard in a rooftop lounge overlooking the Atlanta skyline. The air was crisp, the city lights glittering below them like stars scattered across the pavement. "You remember the first thing you said to me?" Malik asked. Richard groaned. "Don't remind me. I've never regretted anything more." "I do," Malik said. "Every time I want to stop. I think of your laugh. It reminds me why I keep going." Richard looked at him. "You turn my worst moment into your fuel." "That's rare." Malik smiled. "One day, someone's gonna laugh at me. Maybe some kid with a dream will remind me who I was." He paused. "When that happens, I hope I handle it better than you did." Richard placed a hand over his heart. "You already taught me more than I've ever taught you." As Malik's company exploded in growth, so did his legacy. Malik's Fresh Lemonade went national. He launched a podcast, The Fresh Start, interviewing young entrepreneurs. By 14, he wrote a book, Poured from Purpose, How I Built a Brand from a Sidewalk Stand. By 15, he was meeting with presidents, giving TED Talks, inspiring legislation to fund youth entrepreneurship in schools across the country. And on his 16th birthday, he did something no one expected. He went back to Shark Tank, not as a contestant, but as a guest shark. The crowd went wild when he walked in. The sharks stood and clapped. Barbara wiped away a tear. Mark Cuban gave him a fist bump. "Never thought I'd see the day." Kevin O'Leary muttered. "I did," Malik said calmly, "because I never stopped believing that I belonged." His first investment was in a single mom from Detroit, selling bottled iced tea infused with African herbs. She cried when Malik offered $100,000 and promised to mentor her son. "You remind me of my mom," Malik said softly, "and your tea reminds me of home." When the episode aired, it broke records. But Malik wasn't watching from some VIP event. He was on that same porch, next to Tanya, drinking a glass of lemonade with no cameras. No reporters, just peace. "You happy?" Tanya asked. Malik nodded. "Yeah, I am." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You always were the kind of kid who made things sweet." And he was, because no matter how far Malik climbed, he never forgot the sidewalk where it all began, or the man who laughed and came back, or the cup that changed everything. 2 years later, the grand opening of Malik's Fresh HQ was the most talked about event in Atlanta. The new headquarters, a sleek, 3-story glass building in the heart of the West End, wasn't just an office. It was a community hub. The first floor housed a cafe that only sold Black-owned food and beverage brands. The second floor was a mentorship incubator for youth entrepreneurs. The third was Malik's personal office, filled with whiteboards, business books, and pictures of every kid he had mentored through Lemon Leaders. But what made the event so surreal wasn't the press, or the celebrities in attendance, or the governor showing up for the ribbon cutting. It was the fact that Malik Carter, at only 17 years old, had just signed a $12 million distribution deal with PepsiCo for national retail expansion while keeping full ownership and creative control of his company. He stood at the podium in a sharp charcoal suit with lemon yellow accents, his brand's signature look. The crowd of hundreds gathered under a sea of banners reading, "From Stand to Empire." "Everyone told me to sell," Malik said into the mic. Everyone said, take the money, take the exit, let someone else run it. But I didn't start this to sell out. I started this to show what happens when black kids are allowed to dream and own. Applause shook the street. Tanya stood at the front, hands covering her mouth, her eyes brimming with tears. Richard Kingsley stood beside her, nodding proudly, his hand occasionally wiping the corners of his eyes. He looked a little older now, a little more humble. He had stepped back from public investing to focus on helping minority entrepreneurs, inspired by Malik's vision. After the speech, Malik stepped down to the crowd and was immediately swarmed by young kids, some barely old enough to pronounce entrepreneur, let alone spell it. A small girl with braids and bright pink glasses ran up to him. Mr. Malik, the first made a bracelet business. I sell them at school. Malik knelt down, took her hand, and admired the colorful beads. This is beautiful. Do you take orders? She nodded enthusiastically. Good, Malik said, pulling out his phone. I want 5. The girl squealed and hugged him tightly. Meanwhile, across the street, a sleek black Maybach pulled up slowly. The back door opened and out stepped a sharply dressed man in his early 50s, bald, tall, with a scar above his right eyebrow. He wore a heavy Rolex, and his smile was confident but cautious. It was Ethan DeMarco, CEO of Vibefuel, a billion-dollar sports drink company, and one of the biggest skeptics who had gone on record 2 years ago dismissing Malik as just a viral phase. He approached slowly, drawing curious looks. Malik saw him, stood, and extended his hand first. Mr. DeMarco, he said politely. Didn't think I'd see you here, Ethan smirked. I was wrong about you. Malik, you weren't the only one, Malik said coolly. I'll admit, Ethan continued, I thought you'd burn out. But you've built something real. And now Pepsi's cutting you deals. That's impressive. Appreciate that, Malik said, but his tone was careful. I've got an idea, Ethan said. How about a collab? Your branding, our infrastructure. Split the profits. We could take you global. Malik smiled, but it was the kind of smile that said, I've heard this before. I appreciate the offer, he said, but I'm building something bigger than drinks. I'm building ownership. I'm not looking to license my name. I'm building a legacy. Ethan nodded, visibly surprised by the firmness in Malik's tone. Well, if you ever change your mind, I won't, Malik said, gently, but with finality. Ethan gave him a respectful nod and walked back to his car. Later that evening, after the crowd dispersed, Malik stood alone on the roof of Fresh HQ, watching the city lights flicker. Tanya joined him, wrapped in a lemon print shawl someone had gifted her earlier. You did good, she said softly. He nodded. But I'm not done, I know, she replied, smiling. You've always been like that. Even when you were 5, you used to stack your toys into towers and say, it's not high enough yet. He laughed. I remember. She looked at him. You really built it. Malik, from nothing, from a folding table on the corner. Malik's smile faded slightly. Replaced by reflection. That's the part they still don't get. They think the story is about lemonade. It's not. It's about not being laughed out of your future. He paused. They told me I didn't belong, that I was a joke, that I was just a kid, but I never needed permission to be great. I just needed a chance. Down on the street, kids were still posing in front of the banners, holding their own little stands, notebooks, or brand mock-ups. You gave them that, Tanya said. You became the chance. A sudden noise broke the quiet, a small knock from the stairwell door. It opened, and Richard stepped out holding a bottle of Malik's limited edition Legacy Lemon, designed in tribute to his grandmother. He held it up. I think this is your best flavor yet. Malik smirked. You say that every year. Richard walked over and joined them at the edge of the roof. I wanted to say something, he said. I think I need to say it more often. Malik waited. I'm proud of you, Richard said, not just for proving me wrong, for never turning into me. You never let success harden you. Malik nodded. I forgave you. You know, I figured, Richard said quietly. But I never forgave myself Until now, they stood there for a long while, watching the city that had once tried to laugh Malik away, now celebrating him, learning from him, honoring him. That night, Malik Carter posted a photo on his Instagram, just a silhouette of him standing on the HQ rooftop, looking out over Atlanta. The caption read, "They laughed at me. Now they drink from my dream." The post got 5 million likes in 2 days, but Malik didn't check the number. He was already busy designing the next flavor. Dream bigger, build stronger, never fold, because greatness never asks for permission. It pours, it flows, it refreshes the world, just like lemonade, just like Malik. 1 month later, Malik sat inside a private meeting room at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. Yes, the United Nations. He'd been invited as the keynote youth speaker for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, the youngest ever to receive the honor. His face was now on billboards in Times Square, and Time magazine had just named him one of the 100 most influential people in the world. But even as he smoothed the cuff of his lemon-stitched blazer, Malik didn't feel nervous. This was just another sidewalk, another place to be seen, heard, and never forgotten. The Secretary General herself introduced him. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we are honored by a young man who has proven that brilliance does not require permission, only vision. Please welcome Malik Carter." The audience of world leaders, diplomats, and top entrepreneurs stood in a standing ovation before he even spoke. Malik approached the podium slowly, glanced at the row of flags, then down at his hands that once squeezed lemons for $1 a cup. Now he held the microphone that would echo across the globe. He spoke calmly, powerfully. "I was told to go home. I was told I didn't belong. That my dream wasn't big enough, my skin wasn't light enough, and my voice wasn't loud enough." He paused. They were wrong. The room fell into a silence so complete, it felt like the world itself had stopped to listen. "I didn't build a lemonade business. I built a belief system. I built proof. Proof that kids from the corner can build empires, that we don't need to grow up before we show up, that our neighborhoods are full of CEOs in training if someone just gives them a shot." He scanned the crowd. "I was 11 when a man in a suit laughed at me. Today, I advise the same firms that once ignored me. I'm not exceptional because I got lucky. I'm exceptional because I refused to believe I was the punchline." Applause erupted. I challenge you, each of you in this room with power, to go back to your countries, your companies, and your schools, and ask yourself, whose laughter are you allowing to write the future? Because the next genius might be behind a lemonade stand, waiting for someone to take them seriously. The applause that followed lasted 3 minutes. Later that evening, Malik stepped outside the building to find a crowd of young kids gathered by the gate, holding up their homemade products, handmade jewelry, T-shirts, even hand-drawn comic books. They weren't screaming or crying like fans. They were waiting to pitch. Malik walked over, shaking every hand, buying samples, taking photos. His assistant tapped his shoulder. "Your driver's ready, Malik." "In a minute," he said. He knelt in front of a boy about 9 years old, holding a jar of something thick and orange. "What's this?" Malik asked. "Mango chili jam." The boy said shyly, "I make it with my grandma." Malik opened the jar, dipped a cracker into it, tasted it, and grinned. "You know what this is?" The boy shook his head. "This is your legacy. How much do you sell it for?" $5. "Double it," Malik said, smiling, "and add a label. You're worth more than you think." The next morning, a photo of Malik and the boy holding the jar hit the front page of the New York Times. A new kind of investor, Malik Carter, doesn't just drink lemonade water seeds. As Malik's global influence grew, so did his reach. He launched a scholarship fund, the Pour Forward Initiative, offering grants and mentorships to young entrepreneurs aged 10-18 in marginalized communities around the world. Within 6 months, the initiative had touched lives in Brazil, South Africa, the Philippines, and even war torn parts of Eastern Europe. Malik wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was a symbol. And then came the documentary, Poured from Purpose. The Malik Carter story debuted on Netflix and instantly soared to #1 worldwide. Narrated by Morgan Freeman, featuring appearances from Oprah, Mark Cuban, and Michelle Obama. The film documented every step of Malik's journey, from that cracked sidewalk to his Shark Tank debut to the Forbes cover to the United Nations. But the most powerful moment of the film came in its final minutes. A replay of the original footage, grainy and unpolished, from a cell phone camera on Sycamore Hills Avenue, the day Richard Kingsley laughed at Malik. And then a cut to Richard, now older, grayer, sitting alone in a modest home office. "I was wrong," Richard said to the camera, voice quiet. "I judged a boy by his skin and his sidewalk. I thought success wore suits and talked fast. But it turns out success sometimes wears sneakers and sells lemonade." I'll never live that moment down, but I thank God every day that Malik didn't let me stop him. The screen faded to black, and over it, Malik's voice played. Every empire begins with someone refusing to be small. By the time Malik turned 18, he had declined 5 separate offers to buy his company, including one that valued it at $110 million. Because it was never about the money. It was about proving what's possible when people stop laughing and start listening. In a private celebration with just his team and family, Malik raised a glass of his newest flavor, Freedom Fruit, a mix of passion fruit, dragon fruit, and lime. To the laugh he toasted, that lit the fire. Everyone raised their glasses, including Richard. Tanya stood beside her son and whispered, "You did it." "No," Malik said, pulling her close. "We did it." And with that, the boy they laughed at became the man they looked up to.